Take a few seconds to get set up. All right. Seems to be working. Okay. I think we're online. Here we go. Oh. Wait a second. I've got to put one of my backgrounds on. Oh. Give me 1 second. Sorry for the delay. It's all this slow internet. Somehow or other. All right, give me just a second. There we go. Here I am, back at the river. Okay, very good. Okay, gang. So I think we're ready to go. So first we'll mute you all. Here we go. I think that's it. Jaya Radha Madhuva Kunya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhuva Kunya Bihari Gopi Janaballabha Giri Bharadauti Gopi Janaballabha Giri Bharadauti Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodananda Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Manachari Yamuna Tira Manachari Jaya Radha Madhuva Kunya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhuva Kunya Bihari Gopi Janaballabha Giri Bharadauti Gopi Janaballabha Giri Bharadauti Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhuva Kunya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhuva Kunya Bihari Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravatikacharya. Also, Tera Satashi Shimad, His Divine Grace Savaya, Charanada Bhaktivedanta Goswami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, ISKCON Founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananda Goti, Vaishnav Vrind Ki Jai, Namacharya, Srila Hridas Thakur Ki Jai. Friends, say Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda Shadwaita Gadadha, Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radhakrishna, Gopi Gopinath, Shyam Kunda, Radhakunda, Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavanam Ki Jai, Machuradam Ki Jai, Jagannathaswami Ki Jai, Yamunamai Gajai, Shimati Lasi Devi Gajai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrindi Gajai, Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glory is the assembled devotees, all glory is the assembled devotees, all glory is the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prastaya Budlaya, Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharni Nivashesha Shunyavadi Pastyacha Dejatarane. So, Om Ganati Midandasha Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshudun Meditam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So, I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who so kindly opened my eyes with a torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. So we're going to continue with the Nectar Devotion study, and first, as we usually do, we're going to chant this stanza from the Goswami Astika, written by Srinivasa Acharya. Actually, I need my glasses. Nada Shastra Vicharanaikanipadno Sadharma Samstapako Lokanam Hitakarno Tribhuvane Manyo Sharanya Karo Radha Krishna Padaravinda Pashana Nandena Mataliko Vande Rupat Sanatano Raghu Yago Shri Jiva Gopala Ko. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the six Goswamis, namely Sri Sanatana Goswami, Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, and Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, who are very expert in scrutinizingly studying all the revealed scriptures with the aim of establishing eternal religious principles for the benefit of all human beings. Thus they are honored all over the three worlds, and they are worth taking shelter of, because they are absorbed in the mood of the gopis and are engaged in the transcendental loving service of Radha and Krishna. So we are continuing our study of the Nectar of Devotion. Let us share the screen. And here we are in the 10th chapter of Nectar of Devotion, talking about techniques of hearing and chanting. All right, here we go. In the fourth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 29th chapter, verse 40, the importance of hearing of the pastimes of the Lord is stated by Shukadeva Goswami to Maharaj Parikshit. My dear king, one should stay at a place where the great acharyas, holy teachers, speak about the transcendental activities of the Lord, and one should give oral reception to the nectarian river flowing from the moonlight faces of such great personalities. If someone eagerly continues to hear such transcendental sounds, then certainly he will become freed from all material hunger, thirst, fear, lamentation, as well as all illusions of material existence. And we mentioned yesterday, that's exactly what Lord Kapila Dev says, Bhavanti Vrikarna Rasayana Kata Chajoshanada Shilapavarga Vartmani Shradharatiya Bhakti Nukra Mishati, because within the sound vibration coming from the mouths of these great devotees, there is contained the saffron dust particles of the lotus feet of the Lord. In addition, there is contained the Bhakti Shastri, not Shastri, Bhakti Shakti. And in addition, there is contained the association of the pure devotee. In addition, there is contained the Shuddha Sattva, the purified mode of goodness. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also recommended this process of hearing as a means of self-realization of the present age of Kali. In this age, it is very difficult to follow thoroughly the regulative principles and studies of the Vedas, which were formerly recommended. However, if one gives oral reception to the sound vibrated by great devotees and acharyas. What's the difference between great devotees and acharyas? Basically, okay, acharyas are great devotees, and great devotees are supposed to be acharyas. But, in this particular context, acharyas means people, or not just people, but great devotees who have their own branch of the sampradaya. That's what an acharya is. Like Srila Prabhupada is an acharya in that sense. Now, we're supposed to be acharyas in the sense of setting a good example. Actually, that's what acharya means. Acharya means one who is an exemplar, a role model. So anyway, so in this particular sentence, acharyas means very prominent personalities in the sampradaya, those who are especially prominent, who set a mood of devotional service within the sampradaya, like Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, or of course, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, etc. That alone will give him relief from all material contamination. Therefore, it is the recommendation of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that one should simply hear from authorities who are actually devotees of the Lord. Hearing from professional men will not help. If we hear from those who are actually self-realized, then the nectarian rivers, like those which are flowing on the moon planet, will flow into our ears. This is the metaphor used in the above verse. And if you hear from people who are not Krishna conscious, it will poison your spiritual life. There's this interesting verse. Let's see if I can open the screen a little more. Good. Interesting verse. That Shravana Naiva Kartavyam Sharpo Yachista Yatapayam. Avaishnava Mokod Girnam Putam Harikatam Ritam. Shravana Naiva Kartavyam Sharpo Chista Yatapayam. And one should only hear about Krishna from those who are acharyas, those who are following. If someone is hypocritical, saying one thing and not doing it, or only preaching when it's time to preach, the rest of the day they're just an absolute nonsense, that's not an acharya, and hearing from that person will be detrimental because it won't have the bhakti shakti. It'll sound the same to your untrained ears, but it won't have the bhakti shakti. You won't be associating with a great pure devotee. You won't really have transcendental sound unless it's coming through the authorized disciplic succession. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, a materialistic person can give up his material hankerings only by becoming situated in Krishna consciousness. Unless one finds a superior engagement, he will not be able to give up his inferior engagement. In the material world, everyone is engaged in the illusory activities of the inferior energy. But when one is given the opportunity to relish the activity of Krishna, then he forgets all his lesser pleasures. When Krishna speaks on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, to the materialistic person, it appears that this is simply talk between two friends. But actually, it is a river of nectar flowing down from the mouth of Sri Krishna. Arjuna gave oral reception to such vibrations, and thus he became freed from all the illusions of material problems. In the 12th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd chapter, verse 15, it is stated, a person who desires unalloyed devotional service to Lord Krishna, who is praised by transcendental sound vibrations, should always hear about his glorification and transcendental qualities. This will surely kill all kinds of inauspiciousness in the hearts, expecting the Lord's mercy. In the 10th canto, 14th chapter, verse 8, it is said, my dear Lord, any person who is constantly awaiting your causeless mercy to be bestowed upon him, and who goes on suffering the resultant actions of his past misdeeds, offering you respectful obeisances from the core of his heart, is surely eligible to become liberated, for his rightful claim. Now, this verse is one of the verses, many verses we memorize. Tateinu kompam. Sushamikshmana bunchanavatma kritam vivakam. Vidbhav vapurvir pidanam namaste. Jiveta yet yo mukti pade. Sadayavak. And the exact translation is Tateinu kompam sushamikshmana. One who actually suffers whatever reverses that are there, considering those reverses or problems or issues are due to his past activities. In other words, suffering in a very, or tolerating. Because the devotee doesn't really suffer. I have to make that clear. When bad things happen, or actually a devotee never says that thing, when apparent reverses occur in the lives of great devotees, the devotees see them as token reactions for their past activities in this material world. Actually, they're not karmic reactions, they're token reactions given by Krishna, or arrangements given by Krishna. This is the point. And the devotee doesn't think, oh, I don't deserve this. The devotee is thinking, I deserve this and a lot more. And this is actually a test. It's a test to see if I will tolerate, not only tolerate, but continue serving Krishna. Not only continue serving Krishna, but serving Krishna rid bhag papurvir. What does that mean? With my heart, with my words, with my body. So, heart, words, body. Serving Jiva Namaste. So if one goes on serving Krishna in this way, Ridbhag before beer, Vinitam Namaste, Ajiveta Yo Mukti Pade Siddhoyabhak. Then actual Krishna consciousness, of course in this verse it says Mukti Pade, or the feet of liberation. Actually, there was one devotee who wanted to change this particular verse to Bhakti Pade, but Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that was Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, but Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, no, it's Mukti Pade. Sadhyabhak means it becomes his rightful claim, but actually, to be more specific, it's his rightful inheritance. Just like if you're related to someone and they pass away and they have a lot of money, then you have a right to a particular inheritance. So you have a right to the inheritance. It is your right to pure Krishna consciousness if you continue serving Krishna under any and all circumstances, in good times or bad times, in happiness or distress. Just like even in the mundane marriage ceremony, they actually say the same thing. You vow to stay together in good times, bad times, heat and cold, pleasure and pain. No, that's Bhagavad Gita. Anyway, so then automatically, if one is able to continue serving Krishna even in difficult times, then one is the rightful inheritor of pure devotional service. This statement of Srimad Bhagavatam should be the guide of all devotees. A devotee should not expect immediate relief from the reactions of his past misdeeds. No conditioned soul is free from such reactionary experiences because material existence means continued suffering or enjoying of past activities. If one has finished his material activities, then there is no more birth. This is possible only when one begins Krishna conscious activities, because such activities do not produce reaction. Now, if you remember our Bhagavad Gita study, the activities that do not produce reaction are called akarma. That means without reaction. The activities that produce reaction are of two types. One is called karma, and the other type is called vikarma. So karma means activities that produce, in this particular context, activities that produce a good reaction. You get a lot of money, you win the lottery, because don't play the lottery. And vikarma means activities that produce a bad reaction. If you eat meat, that's a vikarmic activity, and what do you get for that? Well, see you in your next life as a cow, chicken, fish, duck. You may be quacking in your next life if you eat duck. Or if you're eating that lobster that I talked about in the other class, then, phew, I feel really sorry for you. Anyway, so that's vikarmic activities. Therefore, as soon as one becomes perfect in Krishna conscious activities, he is not going to take birth again in this material world. A devotee who is not perfectly freed uh, from the resultant actions should therefore continue to act in Krishna consciousness seriously, even though there may be so many impediments. When such impediments arise, he should simply think of Krishna and expect his mercy. That is the only solace. If the devotee passes his days in that spirit, it is certain that he is going to be promoted to the kingdom or the abode of the Lord. By such activities, he earns his claim to enter into the kingdom of God. The exact word used in this verse is diabok. Diabok refers to his sons becoming the lawful inheritor of the property of the father. In a similar way, a pure devotee who is prepared to undergo all kinds of tribulations in executing Krishna conscious duties becomes lawfully qualified to enter into the transcendental abode. So you may ask this question that I am going to ask. I'm going to ask it for you, therefore it's a rhetorical question because I know the answer. The question is, we already read that even if one chants Hare Krishna once, all the karma's gone, the B-karma, the parabdha karma, the aparabdha karma, the kuta, the bija. So what are we talking about? Suffering reactions for past activities. I mean, this is an interesting concept. What are we talking about? Why is it mentioned here that a devotee or an immature devotee may suffer? Well, the point is, as Prabhupada explained, is that once one takes up the chanting of Hare Krishna, it's not karma anymore. It's Krishna arranging things. And sometimes Krishna gives you a token reaction for what you were supposed to suffer before. Let's say I go out today and I cut myself on my head by accident, whatever. I'm on my bicycle and I fall down, I have a cut on my head. Actually, maybe I was meant to have a concussion. But instead, just a little cut. Don't worry, it didn't happen to me. But maybe I was meant. Or sometimes, if you happen to be an initiating guru, then Krishna may give you a little token reaction for accepting the sins of your followers. Yes, the guru does. The guru accepts the karma of his followers. He doesn't become a karmi or a vikarmi because he's still an akarmi, but he accepts. What does it mean, accept? That Krishna shows him, look, this is the burden you're getting. Now, Krishna may show him by giving him some really horrific dreams. Or Krishna may show him by having that devotee have a small accident or some legal problems or some opposition in the performance of his devotional service. So in any case, whatever happens to a devotee once one takes up the devotional path is not really karma, but may be Krishna administering a token to that devotee of his past karma, or maybe Krishna is giving that devotee a test. In school, you got so many tests. I always hated tests when I went to school. And somehow or other I did well, but it was a time of great anxiety. So Krishna is continually testing his devotees. Do you want to serve me? Let us see. See if you're going to continue serving in spite of these difficulties that I am personally sending you, because Krishna's the teacher. You may think, oh my God, why is Krishna doing that? Well, the purpose of taking tests is not really to evaluate you, at least from Krishna's standpoint. The purpose of taking tests is to strengthen you. Just like if you are a weightlifter, the purpose of increasing the weights is to strengthen you up to a certain point, obviously. So Krishna does not give you more weights than you're capable of lifting. but he may bring you to that point. And your continuing is proof of your desire to please him. Nothing comes easy. Prabhupada was once asked, perhaps many times he was asked, why there's so much difficulty in spreading Krishna consciousness? And Prabhupada said, without opposition, where's the chance of glorious victory? Just like if any of you watch sporting games, I do not. But some of you may like cricket. Cricket is played in India, and I know people are addicted to it. It's like the Indian addiction. Anyway, so when you're having one team play another, they have to be in the same league. They have to be roughly equivalent. Or let's use the American example, that you have, let's see, I don't even remember the different leagues. Anyway, you have the professional teams, okay, and then you have the high school teams. Okay, let's just do that. I don't remember anything about baseball. So anyways, because I never liked it anyway. So anyway, so you have the professional teams and you have the high school teams, and you don't have the professional teams play the high school teams because high school teams will be whooped, beaten in English. And so you got to have like equal, you know, to have a challenge. That makes it exciting. Without challenges, there's no excitement. There's no glory without challenges. That's what makes things interesting. Like the battle of Kurukshetra was interesting, not just because, well, anyway, can't say just because Krishna was there, but it's interesting because Krishna was there. But it's also interesting because there is suspense. Who is going to win? Who has more soldiers? Is Arjuna going to commit suicide because he can't kill Jayadratha that day? And Krishna pushes it right to the last moment, and Arjuna is able to kill Jayadratha. So this is what devotional service is about. It's a lot of challenges, but challenges are exciting. That's why people climb mountains. That's why people enter the Olympics. That's why people run marathons, because of challenges. Without challenges, life is boring. If you just like hang out, it's boring. Who wants such a life like that? Anyway, I'm not saying that Krishna should give me more challenges. Anyway, remembrance. Some way or other, if one establishes in his mind his continuous relationship with Krishna, this relationship is called remembrance. About this remembrance, there's a nice statement in the Vishnu Purana where it is said, simply by remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all living entities become eligible for all kinds of auspiciousness. Therefore, let me always remember the Lord who is unborn and eternal. In the Padma Purana, the same remembrance is explained as follows. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Lord Krishna, because if someone remembers him either at the time of death or during his span of life, he becomes freed from all sinful reactions. So how do we remember Krishna? Many different ways. One is we can think of serving Krishna, be absorbed in the service to Krishna, as we quoted the verse from the Bhagavad Gita, Brahmaparam Brahma Havartir, Brahmagno Brahmanam. If you're absorbed in your service, you're absorbed in Krishna. One way. Another way is to hear, or we should hear regularly about Krishna. The more we hear about Krishna, the more we remember him. And the more we hear about Maya, the more we remember that. I remember the other day, before I took rest, I read this amazing story from the Bhagavatam about this gorilla. Bhagavatam has so many interesting stories. This gorilla's name was Dvidvida, and he attempted to harass the ladies that were with Balaram. And I won't even tell you what he did because it's pretty obscene. Anyway, so I was reading about this story and had Balaram there. Balaram ended up killing this gorilla. This gorilla was previously an offensive to Lakshman, who was Lord Ram's brother. Anyway, the whole story like that. So when I took rest, then I was remembering the gorilla all night long. And then the other night I read about Samba. Samba is the son of Krishna by Jambavati. And Samba uh, is very interesting. Samba, which means, his name means with his mom, a mother's boy. Spoiled little kid. And he kidnapped a girl, actually Duryodhana's daughter, and Balaram had to intercede to save him. And so many interesting stories we have, and you just think about it. You read them before you go to sleep, and you just think about it all night long. And then what happened last night, of course I didn't read anything, last night I was engaged in Zoom conferences practically up to the time I was going to sleep. And so all night long, I was in anxiety. I mean, not that anything bad was happening in the Zoom conference. It was just like a little mind-boggling, all the different things we have to deal with. So all night long, my mind was just playing these things over and over again. Of course, it was Krishna's service. I can't say that I was in Maya or anything like that. But I was thinking of Krishna's service. But the point is, because I was absorbed in those things just before I took rest, then all night long I was just planning out, what if this, what if that, what if that? You know, because when you're involved in management in the Krishna consciousness movement, then there's a lot of thought processes that have to come to bear and challenges. So it's better at a certain point of the day to put aside one's management stuff or whatever one does. Or if one works a job, you put it aside at the night, during the night. Of course, unfortunately, because of my service and the GBC is spread throughout the world, then I can have Zoom calls any time of the day or night or morning or evening or any time, because you got people awake in Australia, you got people awake in New Zealand, you got people awake in India, you got people awake in South Africa, and then people sleeping in North America. You know, so anyway, I'm not so fortunate that I can just shut everything down at a certain point. But that's the best thing. And then you just think of Krishna. The more you hear about Krishna, then you'll think about Krishna. It's a fact. And deity worship, too. We're talking about remembering the deity. The other morning, Krishna tricked me, and I had to go and do Mangal Arti. So all morning, I was just seeing in front of my face, after the Mangal Arti, of course, the smiling face of Krishna and Srimati Radharani. So deity worship is like that. You know, if you just meditate, focus on Krishna's lotus face, Krishna's lotus feet, Radharani's lotus face and feet, then it'll fix itself in your mind. And that's really important. Anyway, so the process of devotional service should be maximized. Like today, you know, I was thinking, you know, let me chant more. And it's Ekadasi, so I did chant more. Unfortunately, I only chanted 32 rounds because I did have conference calls and management during the day, and the phone kept going beep, beep throughout the day. Anyway, so let's get on. Meditation, to meditate, means to engage the mind in thinking of the form of the Lord, the qualities of the Lord, the activities of the Lord, and the service of the Lord. Meditation does not mean anything impersonal or void. According to Vedic literature, meditation is always on the form of Vishnu. And you run into this a lot, misunderstanding about meditation. We go out to the university sometimes and people ask us, do you meditate? And we say, yeah. And they said, how do you meditate? And we said, well, we meditate on Krishna's name, Krishna's form, Krishna's activity. They said, no, 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 no. Meditation means to make the mind blank from anything, or to meditate on the sound of one hand clapping, or to meditate on a candle, or to meditate on your navel. I mean, that'd be pretty crazy, meditate on your navel. I know, it's type of yoga. I know about that already. So anyway, but meditation means you must have an object to meditate on, right? And for example, if you're trying to make the mind void, and all of a sudden you think, my mind is void. It's not void. As soon as you realize your mind is void, it ain't void anymore. That's the trick. So in the Sringa Purana, there's a statement about meditation on the form of the Lord. It is said there, Meditation focusing on the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead has been accepted as transcendental and beyond the experience of material pain and pleasure. By such meditation, even one who is grossly a miscreant is a gross miscreant. Anyway, whatever. Is grossly miscreant. I don't know if that's correct English. It should be a gross miscreant. Can be delivered from the sinful reactions of his life. In the Vishnu Dharma, there's a statement about meditation on the transcendental qualities of the Lord, and those qualities we'll hear later on as we read the Nectar devotion. Is very attractive. It is said persons who are constantly engaged in Krishna consciousness and who remember the transcendental qualities of the Lord become free from all sinful reactions to sinful activities, and after being so cleansed, they become fit to enter into the kingdom of God. In other words, no one can enter into the kingdom of God without being freed from all sinful reactions. One can avoid sinful reactions simply by remembering the Lord's form, qualities, pastimes, etc. I like the Lord's pastimes best. In the Padma Purana, there's a statement about remembering the activities of the Lord. A person who is always engaged in meditation on the sweet pastimes and wonderful activities of the Lord surely becomes freed from all material contamination. In some of the Puranas, the evidence is given if this someone is simply meditating on devotional activities, he has achieved the desired result and has seen face to face the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Some of the English here has to be correct. It should be, has seen the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face. Anyway, just a little English correction here. In this connection, there's a story in the Brahma Vaivarta Purana that in the city of Prastishtanapura in South India, there was once a Brahmin who was not very well to do, a famous story, but who was nevertheless satisfied in himself, thinking that it was because of his past misdeeds and by the desire of Krishna he did not get sufficient money and opulence. So he was not at all sorry for his poor material position, and he used to live very peacefully. He was very open-hearted, and sometimes he went to hear some lectures delivered by great realized souls. At one such meeting, while he was very faithfully hearing about Vaishnava activities, he was informed that these activities can be performed even by meditation. In other words, if a person is unable to actually perform Vaishnava activities physically, he can meditate upon the Vaishnava activities and thereby acquire all of the same results. Because the Brahmana was not very well to do financially, he decided that he would simply meditate on grand royal devotional activities. And he began this business thus. Sometimes he would take his bath in the river Godavari. After taking his bath, he would sit in a secluded place on the bank of the river, and by practicing the yoga exercises of pranayama, the usual breathing exercises, he would concentrate his mind. These breathing exercises are meant to mechanically fix the mind upon a particular subject. That is the result of the breathing exercises and also of the different sitting postures of yoga. Formerly, even quite ordinary persons used to know how to fix the mind upon the remembrance of the Lord, and so the Brahmana was doing this. When he had fixed the form of the Lord in his mind, he began to imagine in his meditations that he was dressing the Lord very nicely and costly clothing with ornaments, helmets, and other paraphernalia. Then he offered his respectful obeisances by bowing down before the Lord. After finishing the dressing, he began to imagine that he was cleaning the temple very nicely. After cleansing the temple, he imagined that he had many water jugs made of gold and silver, and he took all those jugs to the river and filled them with the holy water. Not only did he collect water from the Godavari, but he collected from the Ganges, Yamuna, Narmada, and Kaveri. Generally, a Vaishnava, while worshipping the Lord, collects water from all these rivers by mantra chanting. This Brahmana, instead of chanting some mantra, imagined that he was physically securing water from all these rivers in gold and silver water pots. Then he collected all kinds of paraphernalia for worship, flowers, fruits, incense, and sandalwood pulp. He collected everything to place before the deity. All these waters, flowers, and scented articles were then very nicely offered to the deities for their satisfaction. Then he offered arati, and with the regulative principles, he finished all these activities in the correct worshiping method. Remember, this is all meditation. He would daily execute similar performances as his routine work, and he continued to do so for many, many years. Then one day the Brahmana imagined in his meditations that he had prepared some sweet rice with milk and sugar and offered the preparation to the deity. However, he was not very satisfied with the offering because the sweet rice had been prepared recently and was still very hot. So Prabhupada said, this preparation, sweet rice, should not be taken hot. The cooler the sweet rice, the better its taste. So because the sweet rice had been prepared by the Brahmana very recently, he wanted to touch it so that he could know whether it was fit for eating by the Lord. As soon as he touched the sweet rice pot with his finger, he immediately was burnt by the heat of the pot. And this is a meditation, remember. In this way, his meditation broke. Now, when he looked at his finger, he saw that it was burnt. And he was wondering in astonishment how this could have happened. Because he was simply meditating on touching the hot sweet rice, he never thought that his finger would actually become burnt. While he was thinking like this, in Vaikuntha, as a spiritual world, Lord Narayan, seated with the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, began to smile humorously. On seeing this smiling in the Lord, all the goddesses of fortune attending the Lord became very curious and asked Lord Narayan why he was smiling. The Lord, however, did not reply to their inquisitiveness, but instead immediately sent for the Brahmin. An airplane sent from Vaikuntha immediately. What's that noise? Oh, that's a bird. Immediately.
I'm having trouble connecting. I'll keep trying.
Or be voiced. Immediately sent for the Brahmana. Okay. An airplane sent from Vaikuntha immediately brought the Brahmana into Lord Narayan's presence. When the Brahmana was thus present before the Lord and the goddess of fortune, the Lord and the goddesses of fortune, the Lord explained the whole story. The Brahmana was then fortunate enough to get an eternal place in Vaikuntha in the association of the Lord and his Lakshmis. That means the goddesses of fortune. This shows how the Lord is all-pervading, in spite of his being locally situated in his abode. Although the Lord was present in Vaikuntha, he was present also in the heart of the Brahmin when he was meditating on the worshiping process. Thus, we can understand that things offered by the devotees, even in meditation, are accepted by the Lord, and they help one achieve the desired result. Wow. And now we go on to chapter 11. We are moving quickly through the Nectar devotion. Okay. Aspects of transcendental service. Ta-ta. First one is called servitorship. In the opinion of the karmis, fruit of workers, that means people want something for their work. We are supposed to be akarmis. That means we don't want anything and we don't get any result, any material result, spiritual result. Offering the results of karma is called servitorship. But according to Vaishnavacharyas like Rupa Goswami, servitorship means constant engagement in some kind of service to the Lord. Obviously. In the Skanda Purana, it is said that those who are attached to ritualistic activities, the four orders of social life, and the four orders of spiritual life are considered devotees. But when devotees are actually, basically beginning devotees. Okay. Why? Because they understand the goal, but they have this attachment. But when devotees are actually engaged in offering service to the Lord directly, these must be bhagavatas, or pure devotees. Those who are engaged in fruitive activities or prescribed duties according to the four orders of social and spiritual life. That's varnashram. Just to reiterate, in case you didn't know, four orders of social and spiritual life means you're a single student, brahmachari, or you're a married person, grahasta, you're a retired person, vanaprastha, or you are a completely renounced person, a sannyasi. Those are the four orders of spiritual life. And the four orders of social life are, you are an intellectual Brahmin, or you are a politician, a ruler, and a soldier, a head soldier, not just a foot soldier. That means you're a Kshatriya. or you are a businessman, or you like cow protection and farming, that means you're Vaishya, or you like working with your hands and doing menial service, then you're a Shudra. So it said here, one who's engaged in all these things and attached to these things, they're not actually pure devotees. But still, because they're offering the result to the Lord, they're accepted as devotees, like karma yoga. When one has no such desire but acts spontaneously out of love for God, such a person must be accepted as a pure devotee. The conditioned souls who have come into contact with the material world are all more or less desiring or desirous of lording over the material nature. The system of varnashram and the prescribed duties under the system are so designed that the conditioned soul may enjoy in the material world according to his desire for sense gratification, and at the same time gradually become elevated to spiritual understanding. I do not want to become gradually elevated. I want to become quickly elevated. Under these, that's why I'm doing bhakti yoga instead of varnashram. Under these prescribed duties of varna and ashram, there are many activities which belong to devotional service and Krishna consciousness. Those devotees who are householders accept Vedic ritualistic performance as well as the prescribed duties of devotional service because both are meant for satisfying Krishna. When household devotees perform some Vedic ritualistic duties, they do so to satisfy Krishna. As we have previously discussed, any activity aimed at satisfying the Supreme Personality of Godhead is considered devotional service. Srila Rupa Goswami describes one who is fit for becoming engaged in devotional service. He says that persons who are neophytes and who have developed a little love of Godhead are not interested in the activities of sense gratification in proportion to their devotion. It's proportionate. As much devotion you have, that's as little interest you have in sense gratification. More devotion, less interest. But if there is still some attraction for sense gratifying activities, then the result of such activities should be offered to Krishna. This is called engagement in the service of the Lord, with the Lord as the master and the worker as the servant. In the Naradiya Purana, there is a statement of how this servitorship is transcendental. It is said there that a person who is constantly engaged in devotional service by his body, mind, and words, or even a person who is not practically engaged but is simply desiring to be so, is considered to be liberated. Okay, servitorship. Okay, so we will end here, and we will take some questions. Hold on a second. Let me open it up so everybody can answer some questions. All right. Okay, you are officially allowed to answer questions now. Who has some questions? Whoops, I can't hear you yet. My fault. Hold on a second. I can hear you now. Okay, so who has a question? Radha Sundari, you have a question? No?
Yes, Gurudev. I don't have a question. I've just got it's just an experience, Gurudev. You know how you said that, Krishna gives you all this karma, like not karma, I have experienced, yes, how I have experienced, all these things in my life. And, how Krishna has tested me, and I have gone like with the biggest test of my life, like 2-3 years ago. And at that time, I was not initiated. I didn't inspire any gurus, but
Right.
you were always there for me, and I'm just like, while you were reading it, I was thinking, that it's very true that how Krishna, tests you, and that was the biggest test of my life. What I went through,
Yeah.
and it's amazing that how Krishna, Rupa Goswami says in his Nectar of Devotion, it's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it is amazing, and Krishna Krishna sent me to help you through that difficult test.
Yes, Gurudev, he did. He did. If you were not there, I don't know what I would have done. You know.
Yeah.
And thank you. I always thank you for that.
Well, thank you. I'm happy that I was able to help.
And
Hopefully,
it's always that.
Hopefully,
Yeah,
Krishna
that
doesn't
has.
send out more big tests.
Yes, I think that was the biggest test. Krishna tests me all the time, I know, but I think that was the biggest test of my life. And that has really inspired me not to look back, always move forward for Krishna. That has made me do things for Krishna, always engage in Krishna. I have told my husband, I said, my Krishna is first, then my Gurudev, then it's me, and then it's the rest of the world. You know, I told him, I said, I can die for Krishna, I can live for Krishna, because that's what Krishna has done for me.
Very nice. Very nice. Thank you for sharing your experience with everybody. It was, that's wonderful. Like Krishna tests us, but Krishna also gives us the associations so we can pass the test at the same time.
Yes, Gurudev. It's amazing, you know, like it's I can't tell you how much I love my Radhe Shyam Sundar, you know, how much I love, you know, now I see Golok and then, you know, I'm getting in love with them as well. You know, it's just like, you know, it's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah, I cannot love anybody else the way I love Radha and Krishna.
I hope you don't tell your husband that.
I've already told him that, Gurudev. I don't lie.
Oh my God, poor guy. All right.
Thank you, Gurudev.
Thank you very much. All right.
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Who else has a question? Question? Someone else must have a question or comment or something. Oh, and no one else. I hear someone else getting ready to speak. Oh, Praneshwara.
Yes. Yeah, my question is how to have constant meditation on Krishna and Krishna's pastimes, because there's so many ups and downs in life, but do not have like constant meditation. So how to keep constant meditation?
Well, first get yourself a watch. That's a joke from
Yes.
yesterday's class. Anyway, that's a joke from yesterday's class. Has nothing to do with it. The answer is just, those of you who were listening yesterday will remember what I said to Praneshwara. Now, how do you remember? You got to hear regularly. If you don't hear regularly, you won't be able to meditate on it. I mean, I just like today is a Kaddishi here, so I did do a little extra devotional service, you know, hearing and chanting, in spite of all my GBC meetings. And it's like a relief not hearing the news. Because as I mentioned to everybody, that it's on Ekadasi is the one day I do not check the news. I mean, the whole world could be falling apart, but, you know, I won't even know about it on Ekadasi. So normally, if I check the news, then you actually start thinking about the news. Thinking about some nefarious characters. And I'm not talking about Kamsa or Hiranyakashipu or people like that. So you have to hear and chant more. I mean, just take advantage, play Prabhupada's classes, read Prabhupada. I mean, the Krishna book is such an amazing book. The Bhagavatam is such an amazing book, or a series of books. The Chaitanya Charitamrita is such an amazing. There's so many pastimes books about Krishna's devotees, Lord Chaitanya's devotees. So take advantage of it, and then you'll be able to remember more. It's as simple as that. Just like you're getting. Oh my God, I shouldn't use this example, but I'll use it anyway. Just like you're getting married soon, right? Praneshwara, you still there?
Yes,
Yes,
yes, yes.
So once you get married, you'll be madly in love. And then all day long, no matter what else you're doing, even when you're serving your Guru Maharaj, you'll be thinking of your wife. I hope not. That's funny. Anyway, you had to forgive me for my sense of humor. So, so when one's madly in love with Krishna, then that's all one will think about. It depends on where your heart is. You know, I remember the one day I did Mangalarti, I was madly in love with the deities. I couldn't think of anything else but Radha Golokananda. So that was Krishna's special mercy, letting me go on the altar, so I could think of him and offer. I was forced to meditate on him for 1/2 hour. Actually, it wasn't forced; it was nice. So, yeah. So hear about Krishna. Meditate on the form of Krishna, go to the temple and see the form. Of course, nowadays, probably have COVID there in India, so you can't go to the temple too much. So, anyway, meditate on the form of Krishna. We're posting pictures of Radha Golokananda every day on my Facebook page. Someone posted, "Don't worry, Gurudev, it is." I don't even know what that means. Anyway, so just hear and chant enough. All right? That means you have to increase your hearing. That's how you remember Krishna. And be an anxiety about serving Krishna. I mean, I'm certainly an anxiety. Oh, okay. Gopal said to me, "Don't worry." When I said I don't check the news on Ekadasi, Gopal replied, "Don't worry, Gurudev, the world is still falling apart even on Ekadasi." Thanks for ruining my day. So anyway, that's the answer. So who else has a question?
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Bhai Chaitanya.
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm actually in the car, so I can't turn my video on. If that's okay.
That's okay.
Dandavat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances.
Send my blessings. So, what's the question?
It's just about the relationship that one can form with God. You know how we can form a relationship with Krishna as a friend or as a servant or as a lover and so forth. So
right.
I just wanted to know, because as you sort of progress in devotional service or your spiritual life, those relationships, are they supposed to be like, you set them and that's it, or can they spontaneously change? Like you might see him as your master in one sphere, and then you might see him as a friend in something else. Like, can they be changeable, or do you set up a relationship and that's it?
Prabhupada said one can change his relationship with Krishna, although generally it's not the case.
Right. Okay.
It's not fixed. Of course, in the beginning, we all see Krishna as our master. And that doesn't necessarily indicate our eternal spiritual relationship with Krishna. We all see him as we're his servant and he's our master. But then as we progress, we develop some of the other types of relationships with Krishna. Or we may stay on this platform of servitude if that happens to be the perfection for us. All right?
So should we see ourselves as progressing from a servant, or is being a servant absolutely okay as well?
Yeah, certainly it's okay to be a servant. We just have to see. I mean, there's plenty of servants in Goloka Vrindavan too. Not that everybody's a gopi or cowherd boy or friend of Krishna. Krishna has plenty of servants, so that's fine. Did you get your beads yet?
No, Maharaj, I still haven't. I keep tracking it, and it's still somewhere. Last time I checked, it was in Chicago for some reason. But it's I still haven't received it.
Let me check it later today, because your Australian mail site is not accurate. The United States one is accurate. It's probably stuck somewhere in Australia.
It's probably Radha Sundari Mataji is holding it up in her Australia Post.
Yeah. Australia Post is actually, I think she works for an independent, right?
Does she? Okay, sorry, I was just joking.
Yeah, she's independent. She's independent delivery service, but Australian Post at least in the COVID times, is actually the worst in the world. That's
Yes,
what I've
no, it is.
experienced. I've had people receive things in India quickly. I've had people receive things in Fiji quicker. But in
Right.
Australia, I've had people take months for a simple letter to get to them at this point.
Yes, my right.
We are Australia Post Gurudev, but it's our business, so we are contractors. We are not associated with Australia Post.
Oh, you're contractors for them. That's good.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
but
mean,
it's
somehow,
behind. It's behind. A lot of parcels are behind.
yeah, they're really behind. I mean, that's been my experience because I've been sending things to Australia, and they sometimes take 2 or 3 months. But the interesting thing is that when they send things from Australia to us, it takes a shorter time because the U.S. Post is actually better. Sorry about that. Just one final question. We have another question here, Marge. How can we make less offenses as we're performing our duty? While performing our duty, just be very conscious about who we're interacting with. That's all. Just be very, very conscious about who we're interacting with. Be very careful. Think before you speak. Actually, especially before you say anything negative, you should think at least 20 times, or perhaps even more, before you say anything negative or that could be painful to another person. Very, very important. I think we're gonna end now because we're using up my phone internet, which is costly for me. Unfortunately, our internet provider is out today, so I had to go through my phone internet. Okay, so thank you very much. All glories to His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, Ki Jai.